Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Good morning. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless, Rob Parker, Shannon out today. So, good morning, you too.
Good morning.
So, Rob Parker.
Yes, Skip Bayless.
I just might get so worked up in this A block of Undisputed that I might just blow right through my shoes.
You think so?
Yeah, I just might just
Like
blow them
that?
right out. Yep.
What are you
That's
wearing?
how
You got
worked up
Jordans on today?
Yeah, I have Jordans on.
I know. I just
day.
wanted to make sure
Yeah.
because I didn't see you when you walked in.
Yeah.
I don't think your Jordans would blow out like what we saw last
I've
night.
never seen anything
hope
like
not.
that.
Skip, you've covered sports all these years. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen sneakers blow up, but his foot went all the way through the sneaker.
Through the sneaker.
Not the greatest look for a PG 2.5 Paul George. I love Paul George for MVP
You're going
this
to
year,
blame
but
Paul
that
George
shoe-
on that? How about
don't
Nike?
know. Yeah,
Nike's
I know.
made them. Paul George didn't make them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that shoe's going to take off after this point.
Fortunately, I don't think
People
so.
might be taking them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot to get to on today's show. Did LeBron put the West on notice yesterday? And would
No.
these guys give the big bucks to Le'Veon Bell? But we are going to start with Zion Williamson and what we saw last night. He was supposed to be playing in his first game against Duke's biggest rival, North Carolina, last night. But about 30 seconds in, he went down hard with what's being called a mild knee sprain. Zion's foot did go through his sneaker like we were just talking about. I really had never seen anything like that. He left the game, will be reevaluated today. The Tar Heels went on to win by 16, and Zion is projected by many to be the #1 pick in June's draft. So, Skip,
Yes.
should Zion shut it down for the rest of the year?
I would advise this young man to shut it down and wait for the draft. And that's even if this just proves to be nothing more than what Coach K said it was after the game, which is a minor knee strain, even if it's just that. This kid is, when he cuts and he leaps, he does so with such sudden explosion that even if he has a tweaked knee, even if it's just a sprain, and sometimes sprains can be fairly serious, you're set up for a fall. You're set up to risk either limiting your NBA career or potentially wrecking your NBA career for the sake of Duke University, which is paying you no more than room, board, and tuition. And I know that's a lot, and it's a great stage to be on, but it's not worth it now. I will say this, and let me point this out first. Since 2005, I have been on the record because in 2005, the league once again started forcing kids to wait 1 year. They had to be 1 year removed from high school.
I never loved that rule,
I
ever.
didn't either because they went for a long time since the Spencer Haywood versus, when he took it all the way to Supreme Court. So since the early 70s, you could go straight from high school into pro basketball. That's fine with me because what they imposed upon these kids starting in 2005 was outrageously unconstitutional. Zion and RJ and even Cam, that they could all be playing pro basketball at a reasonably high level, and they could be earning money that they won't ever be able to get back over the long haul. So the point is, did Zion benefit from playing 26 games at Duke? Yes, he did, because remember, the scouting services before the year started did not have Zion ranked #1 in the draft. They had RJ #1. Some services had Zion #2. There are a couple of services, Rivals and 24/7, had Zion ranked 5th of the potential draftees. Okay, so it served him well, in his specific case, to go to college and play 26 games because he skyrocketed. And then, obviously, he's now the runaway #1 pick. And what happened last night was his legend and his mystique took off again because he, as Jenny is pointing out, he is so suddenly explosive that he just blew right through a shoe. Even Nike couldn't contain Zion Williamson last night. So again, he will take off even more in the social media highlight film, the highlight of the night. He is made for this social media age. Mm-hmm. And so he's not only going to get, I think, the richest rookie shoe deal, he just might get a signature rookie shoe because now the whole focus is going to be on shoes. Can you build a shoe that can stand up to Zion Williamson?
Maybe he'll have to play in Timberland boots because
I don't know, but this mystique will grow. The legend will grow off last night. Like last night, to me, actually turned out to be the greatest thing that could happen to that kid as long as he's not hurt seriously, and I don't think he's hurt seriously. So, in the big picture, could Zion going forward benefit in basketball growth from playing on big stage, national TV games for Duke University at Carolina on March the 9th, in the ACC tournament, in the NCAAs, perhaps in the Final Four? Would that help him? Would that help his growth as a basketball player? Yes, it would. But is it worth the risk right now, given that he weighs 285 pounds and he is so gifted at athletic explosion? No, it's not, because when you can jump that high and come down 285 pounds on a tweaked knee, I just don't want to see him wreck his knee. So now he's done all he needs to do. The hay is in the barn and the money, to me, is in the bank. You cannot risk it from this point forward.
Skip, I could not disagree with you more.
Okay.
From this standpoint. And if he's healthy, and I'm talking about he walked off on his own power.
Sure.
They're not saying he didn't go in a wheelchair and needed 8 guys to carry him off.
In fact, ESPN reported that he was trying to jog up in the hallway.
Right.
So I'll give you that.
So
I don't think this is serious.
Serious. If it's serious, I totally agree, but I don't. And when I would question an 18-year-old who doesn't want to play basketball. And I get the draft, and I get all that, and can he go any higher than 1? I get it. He can only fall back, right? I understand. But I want a guy who wants to play. This is not like the football players who do it. I get that 100%, Skip. I'm not going to play in a meaningless bowl game, right, where I could get hurt on any play in football.
I have no problem with them saying no to that.
I respect that, right. Now, have you ever seen a guy step out and say, I'm not going to play in a national championship game because I could get hurt and blow my NFL career? Never, because you're playing for something. Duke is playing for something, Skip, this year.
Yep.
They could win the national championship. Why doesn't Zion Williamson want to be Carmelo Anthony? Remember, Carmelo Anthony had an unbelievable run
in the
NCAA tournament. People still remember that. He can hold on to that. His NBA career maybe didn't pan out.
That's all I remember.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. But that's a memory that you have that can't be taken away from you. And there was a quote last month by Zion, which I really respect. He said, quote, I just can't stop playing. I'd be letting my teammates down. I'd be letting Coach K down. I'd be letting a lot of people down. If I wanted to sit out, I wouldn't have went to college. I came to Duke to play.
Yep.
And if he's healthy, he should play. If you're asking him to tough it up and play in some NIT game or some exhibition, Skip, 100%. No way, no how should he put that on the line. But he's 18 years old. If I'm a GM and this guy really doesn't want to play and he's fine, I got a problem with it. And I question really about, is this going to happen in the pros every time he gets a little injury or a tweak or something and he doesn't want to play? I don't want guys like that. I'm not saying you should risk your career and risk further injury. He's too young, too good. I don't care where the draft stock is. You're there to play basketball. You're a player. Players play. They don't sit out, so I'm not buying that. Everybody ready to run and say, oh, he shouldn't play anymore. He's already the first overall pick. One of these other guys, Barrett or one of these other cats, could have an unbelievable run in the NCAA tournament and then say, wait a minute, this other kid hadn't played in 2 months. I really don't know. Is he okay? I haven't seen him play, but I've seen R.J. Barrett light it up. Barrett had, 30 points last night? 33 points? He might light it up in the tournament, lead Duke to a national championship, and Skip, it's always, what have you done for me lately? That kid becomes the hot kid, and now all of a sudden, you get picked in the top 5, but you're not the number 1 overall pick. So I think it would be a big mistake for him not to play if he's healthy.
So you're telling me, if you're the GM of the team that hits the lottery and has the number 1 pick, and if Zion has shut it down for the last quarter of this season and missed all the playoff games, that you're telling me you might start thinking about R.J. Barrett if he had a great run through the NCAAs?
I would just question a little bit what this kid is made of when an 18-year-old kid doesn't want to play basketball. Skip, You love basketball. You know sports. When you were 18, you couldn't wait to play. As a kid, you wanted to get out there and play and compete. And that's all I'm saying. If you're healthy. This is not football. I get football. Every play could be career-ending. Basketball, we've seen guys with worse injuries than this rehab and come back and play. So I'm just like, this whole protecting your stock and not playing when you're in college, he should have just sat out and waited for the scouts to come by his driveway and just say, we're going to pick you because we see you dunking in the driveway.
But he played 26 games for Duke, and he played at a literally high level, and he vaulted past 4 kids who 2 services had ranked above him.
How did he vault past them, Skip? By playing.
Okay.
How
well,
can other guys vault past him?
Hazing the
playing.
bond. He already did it, and we know he did it. And have you ever seen a 285-pounder who could jump as quickly and as explosively as this kid can?
Well, if I'm a GM, I might say, how much is this going to cost me in sneakers during a regular season?
Well, you might
that
say
might be a deterrent.
But do you realize how much tonnage is coming down, how hard from how high, when 285 pounds keep hitting the floor from way above the rim, where he's looking down on the rim when he does 360 reverse spin dunks in pregame warm-ups, as we saw last night? Do you know what the danger is, what the threat is to a knee? If it's tweaked right now and there's any hesitation on his part to come down full force on that, it's usually when you're trying to protect that the worst happens. Because
so the first time he does it after he gets drafted in the NBA, and he does it in practice. So he doesn't do it up until he gets to the NBA, and then he winds up, God forbid, hurting himself then. Then what? If you're the GM, you go, maybe I should have made sure this guy played a little bit more before we just decided to put our franchise in his hands.
And let's talk about R.J. Barrett for a second, because he has been highly, to me, unimpressive this year from what I thought he was going to be. Because, again, I've watched a whole lot of Duke, and I brought up yesterday when I was arguing with Chris Broussard about this, the Gonzaga game. He's the guy who wants to take all the shots, not Zion. RJ wants the basketball, and I love it because he's got, as they say, that dog in him. He wants to take and make the big shot.
But is this an incentive, though, Skip, for him to up his end?
Okay, but what happened for RJ against Gonzaga down the stretch, this is in the Maui Invitational, he shot the ball 5 times in the last minute and missed all 5 of them in a 2-point game, and it just didn't bode well. It didn't. If I'm a GM, or any personnel director, I'm saying, man, I'm not sure about that. So his stock starts to fall, and I'm not even sure at this point he's going to be the 2nd overall pick. And then last night, when Zion goes down, whatever it was, 37 seconds into the game, this was RJ's stage, man. You're at home against a legitimate contender, obviously. I'm not sure they're the 2nd best team in the ACC, but they're a legit top 10
and a big
team.
rivalry game.
It's a big rivalry game.
And
it's in your house, and I know you're a freshman, so it's not really your house yet. But that was his time to rise and shine. That was Cam Reddish's night to rise and shine and say, we're good. We got this.
But didn't
especially
you think
RJ.
The shell shock of it, though,
sure.
because it was so quick. Because I'm with you, Skip. That shouldn't have been a blowout right away. The game had just started. So they could have collected themselves, especially after they saw Zion walk off. It wasn't like he was taken off in a stretcher or a wheelchair.
It wasn't. And all of a sudden, it was like RJ and Cam Reddish and all the rest of them had forgotten how to play defense, because all of a sudden, Carolina was scoring at will in the paint. What was it?
62 points?
32 of their first 39 points. This is in the first half. Came in the paint. And every time I looked up, there's a missed shot, an offensive rebound by Carolina, and somebody's just laying it in off the glass. What?
Was
RJ,
way too easy.
RJ, where are you? And again, I know he's not a dominant post player. He's like 6'7". He and Zion are about, I think he's probably an inch taller than Zion. But again, you got to play bigger than that against Carolina. And Luke May is a senior, so he's been around, and he's a veteran college basketball player, but he just took the game over. And RJ winds up with 33 points. And when I looked at the box score after the game, I said, he had 33? Because I can't remember 2 of them. Seriously, because they were the quietest 33 points I can ever remember. Duke made a little run at the end of the first half, and it looked like they might cut it down to 5, 6, 7 at halftime, and all of a sudden there's a flurry by Carolina, and it's a 10-point game at halftime, and then it just went crazy in the second half. And most of those 33 and most of Cam Reddish's 27 came in what almost felt like garbage time. So he did not do himself any favors. So he's playing last night. So, Rob Parker, why does the NBA want to force these kids to play 1 year of college basketball? So they can observe this on big stages. This is like this is like minor league baseball at the highest level, or there's no minor league football, obviously,
right.
but what a great opportunity it is for the NBA to avoid making mistakes, because if these kids had gone straight into the draft out of high school, RJ would have gone way above Zion.
There's no doubt about it. It was more, it's more about what you just said, is that they're trying to hedge their bets,
just
and get
avoid
as much
making a mistake.
How many of the young kids have we seen them draft when they used to draft them out of high school, and there's a wasteland full of those guys. Exactly. And they're just so afraid, I got to take him, because if I don't and he winds up being a star, then I look bad. So they wind up taking these guys who never pan out.
Yep. So Zion off last night, playing only 33 seconds because that happened with our former President Obama in the front row.
Was he asking for a refund? I saw him early on.
I don't know if he would have paid for his
want a
ticket.
refund?
I feel like he might have gotten in for free.
Blew out his shoe.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
I thought it was a refund. I probably would have asked.
And guess who else showed up last night? Spike Lee showed up, and I'm sure he is dreaming of Zion in a Knicks uniform. I'm assuming that would be one reason
somebody
he would be
else was there. I saw it right after Spike. There was a lot of.
Okay. So Zion.
Ken Griffey Jr.
He was there.
Yes.
I saw him.
That's who
looked good.
He looked good. He had
all
lost
of them
weight
looked
too.
good. Yeah. Obama looked great.
Yeah.
I thought. Yeah. What
it does
you wonders to get out of.
Oh yeah. Out of the pressure cooker.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I got you.
Look great.
So with all those celebrities there, with the tickets Super Bowl priced, it was just, it felt like a postseason game, obviously. So Zion's mystique will rocket off this because he didn't play. So to me, his stock can never get higher. And I get you, and I loved it. And I know a lot of people loved what he said. This was after Scottie Pippen had said he should shut it down. And Scottie was talking about, he didn't even want him to play any this year, I think was his point. Why would you even risk it all? Well, to me, now, I love what he said, but now it's just not smart anymore, Rob. You have to have somebody to save you from yourself, because his style of basketball is risky enough already that and we need to find out just how bad his knee is, and I'm not sure they're.
So would that make him attractive to a GM? If you're telling me his style is risky because he's a big guy and the moves that he makes, now I'm starting to be afraid. Should I draft him? Is this going to be? Is this a precursor to what's going to happen as he moves forward? His
stepfather and his mother should come out. If he's going to shut it down, they should take the burden of this. They should say it's our decision.
Right,
they should
not his.
say we decided that in his best interest, we're advising him you should not play anymore. So
you admit that if he says it, it looks a little worse than if it's the parents?
I don't know. I don't know if it should be the parents.
Rob,
either,
how can you hurt your stock now?
No, I get that, but I just don't understand how a guy who could win a national championship, and I was thinking of this, and maybe, maybe it's a stretch, but maybe had LeBron played in college and won a national championship, would his mindset be totally different? Because he came in and he didn't win and wanted to win. But say if Zion, if he wins a national championship with Duke, I think as you go to the next level, it changes your mentality. You come in with this confidence. Sure. You're not trying to prove anything.
I agree
People
with
saying that you're not a winner. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's why I told
because you won on that level.
That's why I told you earlier, could it benefit him to just experience what it feels like? Because there's no greater minor league sport than college basketball, right?
Because 100%.
We're all watching. The TV ratings will be through the roof for Zion.
Absolutely.
It'll be some of the biggest audiences ever watch NCAA games, and certainly if he got to the national championship game, it would probably set records. So would that help him learn how to win at the highest level under the most pressure? Sure it would. Is it worth the risk right now, given his style of play and his girth and the way he can leap and crash to the floor? I say no.
It's hard to know.
I mean, well, all I would say is don't come crying to me if you somehow wreck your career. And look at like Derrick Rose. He's now your Timberwolf, but he hurt his knee so many times. He has his bursts, he has his moments, but there are a lot of nights I'm like, is that Derrick Rose anymore? I don't know.
I get it. Whenever you talk about injuries,
it's hard. And Duke has 5 games left in the regular season. They actually end the regular season at North Carolina March 9th, which I know we don't know how he is and if he is injured, but I don't know. What if he came back for that game? I mean, there's a lot still. There's a lot more basketball to be played. And we're underestimating how important the tournament is for him. I mean, it's a big deal to play in those games. All right, will we end up seeing a fired-up LeBron for the rest of the season? He had something to share. We'll discuss that next.
No mercy.
February isn't just about one super-sized football game. On Spotify, there's thousands of free sports podcasts that agonize over the preseasons, off-seasons, and plain old regular seasons of nearly every sport imaginable. Basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, curling, and even hurling. Yeah, that's a real sport. Look it up. Now it's so easy to stay updated with the latest trade rumors, predictions, and scorching hot takes from some of your favorite game's biggest names. So take it one episode at a time and give 110% of your attention to the thousands of free sports podcasts on Spotify, because the best offense is a good podcast.
No mercy.
Even though LeBron has been to the playoffs 13 straight years, his streak is in jeopardy. The Lakers are currently 3 games out of the 8th spot with only 25 games left. LeBron is known for switching gears for the postseason, but yesterday he said he's already in playoff mode. Take a listen.
For me personally, I haven't been in this position in a while, and because of my injury, it's kind of, hit our team, and I didn't. Obviously, we would love to have the success where I was out, but we didn't, and this is where we is right now. So, I'm going to be a little bit different, a little bit earlier than I would like to be. It's been quite a while for me that I've been under 500 going into the All-Star break. I don't remember the last time. So, my level of intensity has to be, unfortunately for me, because I don't like to do it at such an early time, I'm a little bit different. But it's been activated, so look forward to seeing what we can do. If I can get into the postseason, whatever team that I got, I feel like we got a good chance. So obviously you want to be playing at a high level going into the postseason and try to ride that wave. So we're looking forward to seeing how well we can play and try to get into the playoffs and ride the momentum of how we play to get there.
All right, we're joined in New York by FS1 NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Chris, what do you make of those comments from LeBron?
I love these comments. Look, for the past few seasons, LeBron has kind of coasted during the regular season at times to pace himself. He knows what it takes to win championships. He knows he's going to play deep into May or June. And so he's really paced himself well in the regular season. Still played at a high level, but we've all seen him turn it up in the playoffs when he's had to. We saw it last year in Cleveland. We saw it the year before even in Cleveland. And when you are playing for championships, championship or bust, since 2007, Skip, when he first went to the finals and they beat Detroit in the Eastern Conference and everybody was surprised and your Spurs swept them. But since then, it's been championship or bust every single year for LeBron James, except this year. This year, you got a young team. Yeah, you want to try to win it and go as far as you can. But realistically, you're probably not beating Golden State. So it can be tough to get motivated when it's really just about making the playoffs and making a nice showing there. And I think that LeBron has bought in now, and especially when that at the 8th seed, if that's what you get, I hope they get 7. But if you get 8, you got the Golden State Warriors waiting for you. It can zap your motivation. So to hear LeBron talk like this, I love it. I believe he's going to be reinvigorated. We'll see a much better performance. I also think this, Skip, number 2. I think that LeBron has heard the talk. And I think he's tired of hearing the little criticism that is he still the best player in the world? Can he even get the Lakers to the playoffs? And I think even the Lakers, Skip, have played into it. I think they played some mind games. There was a story a few days ago that the Lakers are concerned about LeBron's groin injury, that the Lakers are concerned about his lack of intensity, and he's not as engaged as they would like. That was a leak. I've talked to people close to LeBron, and they said, look, when he first got back from the groin, he probably is pacing himself a little bit, wanting to feel out the injury, make sure you're all right, and you don't want to re-injure it, of course, because it would be worse. But they've given me the impression that the groin isn't really a concern for LeBron. So for the Lakers to put it out there that they're concerned about it, I think they were kind of putting it out there to LeBron. Look, we see too that you're not playing like you used to. You've been playing well, but not at the LeBron James level we are used to seeing. And I think he's received that message and been a bit motivated by it. So I like this, Skip.
Chris Broussard. Your guy, the drama king, was really at it again yesterday. And the more I read of what he said and the more I heard last night of what he said, the less I liked all of what he said. And if I were a teammate, especially one of those young teammates of LeBron James right now, I would be shaking my head, if not being outright offended by just about everything he said yesterday. And let's start with that he's activated. And he said, unfortunately, I'm going to have to start earlier. So let me get this straight. Help me out here, because I actually covered Michael Jeffrey Jordan when he was a Chicago Bull. And Chris, I might have missed it, but I don't ever remember Michael saying he paced himself during the regular season. Trust me, from game 1 through game 82, he was all out. And he played game 1 like it was a playoff game. So for LeBron to admit that he coasts,
how many seasons?
You can't do that.
Mike only played, do we even count the Washington years?
No.
He played 13 years in Chicago.
Yep.
He retired. He retired after the 3 titles, then retired again. So LeBron's in his 16th year. Mike never played. He played 15 years. We don't even count the last 2. LeBron has played roughly 60 to 70 more playoff games than Michael Jordan has. So he has a lot. Remember, when Jordan played, that first round of the playoffs was 5 games, not the 7 that we see now. So LeBron has played a lot more basketball than Michael Jordan.
Timeout. How many times did Michael play all 82 games? You remember that?
Oh, he played it most years.
Yeah, most years. I think it was like 10 times he did. And last year was the first time LeBron played all 82 games. So let's start with that. And now let's go to a second thing that at least offended me. He said that, let me go to number 2. He said, obviously, we would have loved to have success when I was out, but we didn't. So this is where we are right now. Well, that's another timeout for me, because were the Lakers 32-2 when LeBron got hurt on December 25th? No, they were 20-14, which was nice, but it wasn't great. So 14 times they had already lost in their first 34 games. And do I need to? We don't have time for me to recite all the games that were there for LeBron to close that he failed to close, starting with the game at Portland and the Houston Brawl game at home, the San Antonio game in overtime at home, at San Antonio, at Jenny's, Minnesota, at Orlando at home, at Washington, at Brooklyn, Memphis at home. Every one of those games could have been won, and I think closed by LeBron, and he didn't. But he takes no responsibility for that, and so it's like he's blaming his young teammates, or all of his teammates, for putting us in this predicament. And that leads to number 3.
Well, Skip.
Yeah, go ahead.
They went from the 4th seed to the 10th seed when LeBron was out. I mean, he just stated a fact.
Okay,
if the young boys can't handle it, grow up.
Okay, but it's the West. It's
hard. They went 6-12.
Fortunes rise and fall quickly. And obviously they missed LeBron, but they also won a few games that I thought were pretty good. The game at Oklahoma City was really good. Should have won at Houston.
6. They lost 12.
Okay.
They should have looked at that and ballers look at that, okay, the best players out, yeah, we miss him. But, hey, this is my opportunity to step up. I want to show the Lakers, I want to show LeBron, I want to show everybody that I can ball, that we can get it done without LeBron. And they didn't. They lost to the Knicks. They lost to the Cavs at home. LeBron just stated a fact.
I just stated a whole bunch of facts of a whole bunch of losses that LeBron suffered that he should be held responsible for. Now let's go to number 3. Similar point. He says, yeah, I mean, if I can get to the postseason, whatever team I got, I feel like we got a good chance. Well, it's like you're just dismissing the rest of your teammates as garbage. Like, if I can get this team to the playoffs, we still got me, so we got a chance in the playoffs. Chris, this is already on hair trigger because LeBron, unfortunately, through Rich Paul, made it very clear that he was very willing to trade all of his kids, all of his talented young kids for Anthony Davis. Well, that's going to be an issue psychologically in the locker room going forward without him making statements like this. This is the opposite of leadership. This is rubbing the kids' noses in it that he says, if I get this team to the postseason, it doesn't matter what kind of team we got a chance because of me. You can't say that if you want to lead a team and get the best out of all of your kids in the highest, biggest moments as the playoffs approach. That's the wrong thing to say. And I know, like, Tom Brady gets ripped and ridiculed for saying nothing, speaking in platitudes and cliches. I'll take Tom Brady over that any day because Tom Brady's team loves Tom Brady. Your response?
Skip, you brought up Michael Jordan earlier. Did Michael Jordan not lead with tough love?
Yeah, but
tougher love than LeBron James. Am I correct?
But it was love. It was tough, but it was love, and they knew that he loved them. And this smacks of unlove to me.
Look, Skip, I was with Michael Jordan in Washington for those final weeks of his last season, and he led the same way. He was hard-nosed. He challenged guys to the core. He was as competitive as all get out. There was one difference. He no longer could lead a team to not even a championship, but the playoffs. And those young guys in that locker room who grew up idolizing Michael Jordan, they couldn't stand him. They couldn't take it. Michael was such a great leader because it was tough love, but ultimately because he was so good that he could lead you to championships. And the other guys, even if they didn't like it, they got on the bandwagon because, hey, it's a circus and we're benefiting from it. So let's ride it.
Okay.
And LeBron is challenging these kids with tough love. I get what you're saying. They're human beings. It's going to be tough that they're young, their first time in the trade, on the trade rumor mill, and Lonzo was supposed to be the face of the organization, and Kuzma was this great kid that they found late in the draft in the first round, and all Brandon Ingram, number 2 pick, all that. I get it. But this is the NBA. It is a business, and they have learned it the hard way. If they can't handle it, then they're not cut out to play in the NBA at a high level. This is what happens when you join LeBron, expectations rise. He holds himself to a high standard, and he holds every one of his teammates to a high standard. And the ones that can't handle it, then they shrink back, they get traded, cut, whatever. I think the young boys can handle it. I know Kuzma can. I want to see if Lonzo and Ingram can. But I think it's tough love, and this is NBA life. This is the business of basketball, and they just have to accept it, grow, and learn from it.
Chris, Michael Jordan never went and sat at the very end of the bench, literally trying to separate himself, distance himself from his teammates that he could not stand. This smacked of the LeBron James who exits the game and goes to the very end of the bench like, I don't want anything to do with you guys because you guys are a bunch of garbage.
Doesn't he have that? No. But isn't it a special seat
Special
for his
seat.
back?
Oh, it's special. Yeah.
He sits there all the time.
Special, yeah.
And remember, Skip, there was a teammate, I don't know if it was Rondo or somebody kind of next to him, and then he got up to go in the game. So it made it look, it wasn't the optics were bad. But we know, I don't think it was really as bad as it looked.
My final issue is LeBron's comment that I love being uncomfortable. In fact, he goes so far as to say that I fall in love with being uncomfortable. Well, then why did you leave Cleveland and take your talents to South Beach to join forces with Dwayne and Chris Bosh and Pat Riley? Because wouldn't that increase your comfort zone and your chances of winning? And then why did you leave your best friend Dwayne Wade high and dry and go back to Cleveland to join forces with young and upcoming star Kyrie Irving? And then why did you leave Cleveland behind to come to L.A. when it looked like you couldn't win with what was left in the cupboard at Cleveland last year? I don't think he loves being uncomfortable, and he sure didn't love being uncomfortable in that first finals with the Heat when he just shrank and disappeared. So I don't get that. That just sounds like he's trying to talk himself up and increase his mystique and legacy when, again, he hasn't shown me he loves discomfort.
If you talk to David Griffin, former GM of the Cavs when they won that championship, Remember, every year in Cleveland, Skip, there were drama. And pretty much every year in Miami, too, there was drama. What David Griffin would tell you is LeBron loves this. A lot of it, Skip, you have to admit, was manufactured by LeBron. You
drama.
said it yourself. He was
no,
the
he
drama
loves drama.
king.
I got that.
But why does he create that? David Griffin would tell me at times, we can't stand prosperity. Whenever things are going too smoothly, we struggle. And LeBron would send out a tweet, an Instagram, or say something in the media that would make things uncomfortable. And at the end, for the most part, it would work out. Certainly in the East, obviously they only won one finals. But look at that finals. They're down 3-1. If that's not enjoying being uncomfortable, what is?
That's enjoying the pressure is off.
NBA history,
Nobody expected anything at that point.
No, come on.
The
pressure's never
there
off
was no
LeBron,
pressure.
First of all.
It was over.
He's always under pressure. To come back from 3-1, you're not going to give him that, Skip? That's a great achievement. There's nothing but discomfort there, and he overcame. So I'm buying it.
Nobody cared. That was the most comfortable he ever was in his whole career. There were no expectations. They were the underdog every game, all the way home. And it happened, and it was shocked. I think LeBron was the most shocked guy in the arena at Golden State when they won Game 7 because Kyrie hit the last shot. So, way to go.
He told his team, we're winning this. Ask Dante Jones. He's up there at FS1. He told his team, we got this. That's what he was telling guys in the locker room.
Okay.
Before, the comeback.
Okay, so why would you speak like this to your current teammates?
I think he enjoys it.
Yeah, but right now, it always smacks to me of LeBron trying to send signals to his faithful, to what I call the blind witnesses out there, that I don't have enough help. It's like he has to keep building in excuses of, if I can pull this group up to being just barely in the playoffs, then maybe we have a chance because of me, but I don't have enough help. So I don't, if I'm a teammate, I don't want to hear that.
LeBron didn't make them go 6-12. I mean, that has nothing to do with LeBron.
Okay, well, did 20 and 14 have to do with LeBron? Did the 14 losses?
Well, I mean, that's pretty good. This is a 35-win team that he lifted to the 4th seed.
Okay, but that team.
I mean, that's good. Then he's out for 5 weeks and they all fall all the way to 10?
Okay, but I gave you this.
You can't put that on LeBron.
During the first 34 games, I kept telling you, you're right about this team. It's way better than I thought it was. Yet every time that they were in position to close a deal in all the games that I read to you, they failed. And 20 and 14 easily could have been 27 and 7. Seriously, I wouldn't have been shocked by that. They were in position in all those games to be 27 and 7, and we wouldn't be having this conversation right now about can the Lakers make the playoffs, because they would be a viable middle-of-the-pack seed in the Western Conference.
Well, that's what they're going to be trying to do next. He says he's activated. Either way, I love
They're
the
coming for your Spurs,
quote.
Skip. They're coming for your Spurs.
They are
Chris,
not going to catch my Spurs.
you can't bring that up right before we go to break. That's just cruel. All the way from New York.
I shot it down. I'm good.
All right, Chris, you're going to join us later in the show. Coming up next with Skip, pay Le'Veon Bell, the big bucks. We'll discuss everything there next.
No mercy.
Le'Veon Bell's days in Pittsburgh are over. The Steelers GM said yesterday that the team will not use the franchise tag on Bell, which will allow him to become an unrestricted free agent. Bell sat out all of last season over a contract dispute, but in 2017, he had nearly 2,000 yards from scrimmage. The Jets, Bucks, Eagles, and Raiders are among the many teams that have been named as possible destinations. So, Rob, would you give him a big contract?
I, Skip Bayless, would drive the Brinks truck to his house. He is the best back, all-around back in the NFL. I don't know why people are questioning whether or not you want to pay this guy, because the last time we saw him play, and it wasn't last year, but 2017, led the league in rushes and touches, had over 400. This guy is everything.
Lead in rushing.
Right.
No. Did he lead in rushing? Oh, maybe he did.
Touches.
Okay.
Touches and rushes.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, not rushing.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, and he averaged 129 yards, scrimmage yards, which was tops. All I'm saying is he's got everything you want. He can block. He can catch out of the backfield. He can run the football. And the thing I love the most, I think this is the problem people got to get over. Get off the money thing. Don't worry about how much money he makes. This is a part of the game, his value, and he fought for it. And if you're another football player, you should applaud him, Skip. He went up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who didn't want to pay him, right? Despite his stats and everything he did for the organization, he didn't want to pay him.
What does that tell you?
No, he didn't want to be another running back where they use you up, and then when the time comes for you to get paid, they say you're used up and we're not going to pay you. So he refused to do that because they had given him 2 franchise tags. Pay me if I'm not good enough, or let me go. One of the two of you don't want to pay me. So he refused to sign that second franchise tag, and he held out. All the people are like, oh, what a mistake. He's crazy. He gave up $14 million that he'll never get back. You know what he saved? He saved a year on his body of wear and tear for an organization that's not willing to pay you for services rendered. So, and here we talked about the yards from scrimmage per game. A minimum of 50 games played. Here's where Le'Veon fits in. I'll give you the top 4. Number 4, Barry Sanders. Number 3, Billy Sims.
Okay.
Number 2, Jim Brown. And guess who number 1 is with a minimum of 50 games? Le'Veon Bell. This is the kind of player he is. He's not an also-ran or some running back that anybody can just throw into the mix. And this is the way that they're acting as if he's not a game changer. Tell me, Skip Bayless, if he played the entire year last season, do the Steelers make the playoffs? I don't care what James Conner did. With Le'Veon Bell, they would have made the playoffs, and they wouldn't have missed the playoffs.
I think James Conner was really good. He wasn't quite Le'Veon, but he was close.
He's not. And so when I look at this, I think people need to back off and don't worry about what he had to do. And I'm talking about sitting out. This is his only recourse in the NFL. We know that the players have a terrible CBA, and it's weighted heavily towards the owners. So your only course of action, Skip, in order to get paid sometimes, is to make the ultimate sacrifice. And that's what he did. But for people to say that you shouldn't think about adding him to your team and paying this guy because he sat out. If I'm the Jets or the Colts have $107 million, right, to spend. The Jets have $96 million to spend. Are you kidding me? Those two teams, he should be playing for one of those two teams. And imagine if he goes to New York and Sam Darnold, what that would be for him. So I'm all in for Le'Veon Bell, one of the best all-around backs in the NFL, if not the best, and I'm going to pay him even if I have to come out of my pocket for the last $3.
So Rob Parker's big heart is bleeding for his man Le'Veon Bell,
All
correct?
$3.
Give him what he wants. Give him $48 million guaranteed for 3 more years. $16 million guaranteed dollars a year, says Rob Parker. Is that about right?
Yes,
I know that's
whatever he wants.
Reportedly wants. I'm going to remind you, all those stats that you read, those were what he did, past tense. This league cannot, especially the game of football, cannot pay you for what you did. It has to pay you betting on the come. What will you do for me in the near future? And with this guy, I'm not sure about that. And the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely weren't sure, which is why they went tag, let him sit. And then what happened?
They didn't make the playoffs.
Okay, well, again, that was a troubled football team, and we haven't even talked about Antonio Brown and how much he detonated that locker room and his feud going game to game with Ben, and he wouldn't play the last game, or at least he wouldn't practice up to the last game. So all that was going on. I think Mike Tomlin, I'm a big fan still, but I think he lost his locker room. So all that factored into why they missed the playoffs, because James Conner was really good. And just if you do the
But
yards.
Skip, he's not.
Okay,
Le'Veon.
yards, he's not quite, but yards from scrimmage, he had 113 a game last year. Then he got hurt and he missed 3 late games. But 113, at least it's in the ballpark with Le'Veon's, what'd you say, 129 of the year before, okay? So, not quite, but again, I've never been the biggest Le'Veon fan because he is, to me, a bit of a tiptoer. He likes to tiptoe and kind of wait and look. Give me Ezekiel Elliott, because Ezekiel
I knew
Elliott.
we were going here.
Okay,
Here we
well,
go.
well, again, Ezekiel Elliott tries to run through the brick wall every time he touches the football, running it or catching it.
You mean Ezekiel Elliott against the Rams in the playoff game? Is that the one you want?
You know, I want the Zeke who has led the league in rushing the 2 full years that he's played. So I don't know, how did he do that? And he just keeps catching it more and more each year, and he's right there with Le'Veon as a receiver. Don't tell me he's not, because he can really catch it.
He's getting there, but he's not.
Okay.
He's not
All right.
Bell.
So, I read today in the New York Daily News, I think you know Manish Mehta, who covers the Jets.
Absolutely.
And a very interesting piece and made some strong points, because he is inside with that football team. And he said there are those inside the building who have reservations about Le'Veon's motivation after he lands a big payday. Are you sure about that, Rob Parker?
I'm sure about that.
Did
There's
he
no
want to get
reason
paid for what he did,
But
and then
this-
he's going to sort of semi-retire on you? Boy, I don't know.
No, but the problem, Skip, is they use you until you wind up getting hurt. And so he was going to avoid, after 400 touches in 2017, to say, no, you're not going to do this again. And then here I am beaten up, battered, and then I don't get paid.
Yep.
Back to Manish. He says that there are those inside the building on, One Jets Drive, who fear that Le'Veon's only 27, but they fear how much tread he has left on his tires.
He's 26 football years.
After,
he didn't play last
all right,
year.
but he has 1,635 touches. That's a whole lot of touches and a whole lot of getting hit and tackled, right? So you have to fear that going forward with somebody who plays this position. Now, the final straw here is that, according to Manish, word on the street is that Le'Veon Bell, whose playing weight is about 225 pounds, ballooned to around 260 pounds during his 1-year hiatus. Wow. Well, is that an exaggeration? I don't know, but that was the word on the street, and then he comes right back and says that surely he has lost most of that extra baggage by now, but how do you know? I don't know, but would that scare you, Rob? It would scare me.
It wouldn't scare me because of what he was able to do. And yes, when you don't play and you're not in the regiment that you're used to, Skip, you're going to put on some weight. It happens to a lot of people. So that I'm not going to look at him and go, oh, he doesn't care about football. I believe he cares about football. I believe he wants to win. And I think, who am I going to look at, especially, what did you say, One Jets way? That franchise has been off the runway a lot since they won the Super Bowl last in 1969.
All right, so if you want to sign him and give him that much money for marquee value, just to say, we got Le'Veon, look at our new number
Sam
26.
Darnold doesn't benefit if you got a guy coming out of the backfield who's a threat and who can throw the ball to as an outlet.
All right, if he's that guy. What did we see C.J. Anderson do at the end of last football season? He came right off his couch. He got cut by the Broncos and then cut by the Panthers and then had a cup of coffee with John Gruden, who decided to go a different direction. C.J. explained it all. He's still a Gruden fan. But he winds up mid-December with what? The L.A. Rams? And what happens, Rob Parker? 137 yards happened against Arizona, and then what was it, 116?
Well, that was against the poorest Dallas defense.
No, the last 2 regular season games, and then he just ran wild on my defense, which was not porous because it had just stifled.
They gave up 290 yards, Skip, to
273.
Okay, I said almost 290.
Okay, well, I still can't explain it because that defense had just shut down the number 1 rushing attack in Seattle the week before in a playoff game.
Maybe it was the bright lights in the stage.
Maybe it was C.J. Anderson. Maybe, again, I'm not saying running backs are a dime a dozen because Ezekiel is not a dime a dozen.
Oh, he isn't, but Le'Veon is.
Okay, he's a little long in the tooth. And again,
26 years old, football years.
I've never loved Le'Veon's commitment to football because he's got this alter ego that he calls Juice, and he's a rapper, and he's made albums. He did a song about me. It wasn't the nicest song, but I don't care about that.
See, that's what you're holding
on
to.
I'm not. I don't care. I was flattered. I was honored that he would write a whole song about me.
To waste time and to put you in the song tells me he has dedication, he's creative, right?
He is.
And he needed an outlet to get it out. That's better than...
He called me Shrimp Bayless. That was the name. I think that's the name of the song, as I recall.
Barbecue shrimp or grilled shrimp?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Le'Veon, your friend, you know?
Yeah, it's not very nice.
It was great. And I don't hold that against him. I've said this routinely on this show for 2.5. In fact, that inspired him to write this song. I'm not the biggest fan. I don't know that he's a winning football player, but he's very good. He's very gifted, and I give you all that you just said. I just don't think he's worth that much of your money because there still is a hard salary cap in pro football.
I get it, but if you look at the two teams that I mentioned, they have room, and you can't tell me what the Colts did a year ago to add him as another weapon with what they have around Andrew Luck, Skip, and what they did, or the Jets in a situation that would elevate the New York Jetropolitans, right? To have a player of that caliber.
It would.
It would.
Yeah. I don't know if it would help on the scoreboard, but it would help in the stands.
What if it did?
It'd help on the back page headlines.
And AB, if they added those two pieces.
They would vault past the Giants onto the back page, the top of the back pages.
Yeah,
yep.
That would change everything. And 26 football years old, that is a good point.
It is.
He's not
With the
that
1
old.
year off, he's not that old.
You gave Rob a good point.
Yeah, you know, once in a while, Skip.
Way to go, Rob.
I got you next. We'll see.
No mercy.
Next up, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant were already rumored to be joining a team when they hit free agency this summer, but video from Sunday's All-Star game of them in the tunnel together made the rumors even bigger. A lot of people think they're headed to New York, but yesterday, Kyrie let the media have it. You got to hear this.
So it's a video of me and one of my best friends talking. And then it turns out to be a dissection of a free agency meeting. You get that? Like, do you get that? And then I'm asked questions about it. Like that's what disconnects me from all that. Like, because I have no connection to that. So I don't have a private life when I'm out there in the NBA. Somebody wants to take a video and just pour water on it. I'm a human being talking to another best friend of mine. Like, it's just crazy, you know. This is the stuff that just doesn't make the league fun.
Skip, please tell me what is going on here.
Nothing good. Rob Parker, I remain the biggest Kyrie fan as a basketball player, as a clutch closer. There's not many better.
He won that championship for LeBron in Cleveland.
He did. And yet, as a leader of a new basketball team in Boston, my doubts grow by the day, by the comment that spills out of his mouth, because he's not a born leader. He's a born scorer. He's a born dribbler. He's got all that.
Finisher.
But, he's that. But especially over the last 24 hours, the more he spoke, the more I was out on Kyrie as the leader of the Boston Celtics. That's another troubled team. That's a basketball team, obviously. But I try to analyze what he says and what one of his best friends that he just referred to, Kevin Durant, says. And what do I call Kevin? He do rant, and he do rant and rant and rant. And it's almost like they become brothers in arms against the media because they love to. What did I say the other day? I can't remember if you're on Monday. Were you on Monday?
No, not Monday.
Okay, Monday. But off the All-Star game, it looked to me like Kevin and Kyrie staged all that.
It could have been.
What happened in the tunnel, what happened after the game. And I want to point out to everybody, when the game ended, those two went up to each other and were kidding and palling around and, playfully shoving each other. And then when Durant was presented the MVP award of the All-Star game, players, after a while, as he spoke, broke up and went to their friends and family. And one guy remained right behind him. It was Kyrie clapping. And it was like a stage, like he's trying to drop big hints, bombshell hints to the media just to provoke an internet firestorm, just to sort of get even, like they're just jacking with the media.
Right.
So that could be operating here. But now let's go back to his comments. If that's not operating, he says, I'm a human being talking to another best friend of mine. Okay? And he says, it's two people talking, just having a conversation. If this was the real world, would it be anybody else's business? It's not the real world. What are you talking about? You make $20 million a year to play basketball. You have made it clear that you have not decided to stay with the Boston Celtics. What was his answer? He dismissed it.
Let me know. I'll let you know July 1st.
July 1. He said, ask me July 1.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Has Kevin Durant made it clear that he's going to stay in Golden State? Has he dismissed all the speculation by just saying, hey, stop it. I'm going to be a Warrior next year. Whether you like it or not, I'm staying here.
That would be the
Have
end
we
of the
heard
story.
that? It'd be over. So neither has shot down the story, and both seem to really enjoy the attention that it generates for both of them. So he kept saying yesterday, it's none of your business. It's everybody's business. He makes $20 million to be in the entertainment business of professional basketball. He's a free agent and Kevin Durant's a free agent, and it would be very logical because both have voiced in the past their love of New York City and that arena, Madison Square Garden, and Knicks history. Even though it's been since 1973 that they won a championship, it still has legacy history there. Every visiting player goes into that building wanting to light it up, right?
Skip, you know that the way that it's the setting with the lights down, and it's like being on Broadway, on a Broadway stage.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
Who wouldn't want to play there? I know they've been in the doldrums.
They got a bad owner.
They got a bad owner, and there have been speculation that he would sell, and now it seems that's been shot down. But could I see Kevin and Kyrie, best friends that they are, uniting in New York to say, let's put the Knicks back on the map? Yes.
And what it would do to change the way people looked at both of them if they were able to do that.
Okay, so is Kyrie going off on the media just to fuel himself? Because that's how Kevin does. He wants to just attack the media. He goes and premeditates, I'm going to drop the mic on the media just so it'll fuel my fire.
Yeah.
You know, it'll motivate me. And maybe Kyrie's doing that because none of this makes sense. And for him to say it's all about you guys want likes and clicks. I think he and Kevin want a whole bunch of likes and clicks because that's what he generated yesterday with this. And for him to be up in the tunnel, I know it was before the game, doing, again, you could see him going 2, and then it looked like he was saying max. I couldn't tell, but he definitely was going 2, meaning the Knicks have 2 max free agent slots open, right?
And
okay.
Here's the other thing. This is what he signed up for. Guys kill me.
I know.
I don't understand. You just said it, Skip. He's a professional basketball player. And I hate to break it to you. A lot of people would be disappointed. But sports writers, and we've done this, Skip, for a long time, we don't have a dog in the fight.
Yep.
We're here as a conduit to the fans.
Yep.
They're the ones who want the information.
Yeah.
Yes. They care. You know what's a great story for us? A story that's early, easy, and can get us out. A good story that gets us out of the ballpark early. That's a good story for sports writers.
Yeah.
So this whole notion that it's an obsession of ours, the same way that Kyrie did a movie. Didn't he do a movie? Did he want nobody to come? Or how does that work?
That doesn't
Uncle
work
Drew,
that way,
right?
yeah.
No. So when you want to sell sneakers or whatever, then you go and you put out stuff because you want people to be interested.
Yeah.
We're in the same business. You know what we do? We want people to tune in to watch us because we're talking about the things that they're interested in.
Yep.
Or read our website or our newspaper or listen to our radio shows. Yes, we're here for the fans. It's about the fans. I don't get this whole pushback to the media. And like, they're all new. They're brand new to it. Like, they don't get it. What part don't you get? There's a story out there. We don't know where you're going, and until you make it clear to us, and here's the other part. I've said it all the time. If you don't want the media to speak for you, then you should answer the question. And just like you said, all he has to say is, if you're Kevin Durant, I'm not going anywhere. I'm re-signing with the Warriors.
Over.
What other
math.
question could I come up and ask you? You just told me I have to take you at face value until you sign somewhere else. Kyrie did a good job at it in Boston at the start of the season. If you remember, in front of the big crowd, he goes, my plans are to be here as long as you'll have me.
Yep.
He didn't give you a definite.
That was in front of the fan fest.
It was a fan fest.
That was a smart way for
It was a way to call off the dogs, right?
Yep.
He did it. But then when people came back after the whole thing with AD and Porzingis being traded and this whole idea that the Knicks have $75 million to spend, they go back. That's a natural question.
It is.
Go back to him, and then he goes, I don't owe anybody bleep, and hit me up July 1st. So what are we to do from now until July 1st but to speculate?
And he says this is nobody's business. It's everybody's business because he should be grateful that millions of people care about whether Kyrie and Kevin are best friends who might go to New York and play for the Knicks.
Kyrie, go work at the post office, and when you and somebody else are talking over a sweet roll, nobody will care. Nobody will ask you, what were you talking about? It's like this is all new.
So here's my final problem with what Kyrie said in the last 24 hours, because this was to Rachel Nichols on ESPN, and I'm going to read this quote very quickly. He said, it's been a trying year for us. I'm talking about the Celtics. We basically have a bunch of young men in our locker room who feel like they're capable of doing a lot more than they're doing. Translation, playing more minutes, scoring more points because they shoot more shots. And he says, that's okay, but there's a maturing that you have to do. He's telling them all, because he says, I initially didn't play the minutes I wanted to play. I was only 26 years old heading into my prime, but why did I have to wait for anybody? And he's saying these kids have to wait for him. So why did he apologize? I said this the first day, and he reiterated that he called LeBron to apologize.
Right.
He was trying to send a message to his younger teammates in the locker room. You actually need to be apologizing to me because you need to take a back seat to me for now because I'm the guy. I'm the LeBron right now, and you guys need to just swallow it for now and grow up and realize that you're going to play less minutes and score fewer points until I'm gone. You see what I mean?
No, absolutely.
Okay? Well,
and
again,
you're not going to win ultimately without me.
Okay.
Like
so
the big thing.
He's doing it again. He's taking another shot at those teammates. And when he says it's been a trying year, well, in large part, that's self-inflicted wound in the locker room because Kyrie was the one who started all this. He's taken shots at various teammates. Jaylen Brown fired back at him. So he's the instigator of the trying year. And again, he's rubbing their nose in it again, and he's pouring more gasoline on that fire. This team's going to have a hard time in the last 25 games.
It's almost like
what's
he
your
needs
gut?
to be reminded, though.
He's not staying in Boston, right? Is that your gut?
Well, it feels like he's not because he's not having fun in Boston. He says, you guys, the media, you're making this no fun in this league. Well, I think he's making it no fun in his own locker room.
You've been around so many of those athletes. I mean, how much does it bother you when you hear that kind of reaction? Because
I just don't get it because we've been around and covered so many guys who just get it. It's a part of the job when you sign up. You know, you're a pro athlete. People are interested in you. And this is what we do. You don't have to agree. I always remember Paul O'Neill asking me before he went to New York.
You're going to have to remind people who Paul
O'Neill
was.
played for the Yankees and played for the Reds.
Yep.
But he asked me about going to New York.
Sure.
And he just said, you work there, give me advice. And I just said, speak for yourself. I said, when you don't, the sports writers will have to guess what you're saying. That's it. It's so simple.
simple that they are relevant when being talked about. This is a good thing. It's not that complicated. You are making it a big deal. It's giving us something to talk about.
Grateful for this.
Exactly. We're going to go back to
What?
Zion
Paul O'Neal?
Williamson.
Yeah, I remembered you.
Of course. What we saw from him last night, his injury. Did we see his final game in a Duke uniform? We'll discuss next.
No mercy.
Zion Williamson was injured last night against North Carolina about 30 seconds into the game with what's being called a mild knee sprain. Zion's foot actually went through his sneaker, something I'd never seen. He left the game and will be reevaluated today. The Tar Heels went on to win by 16, and Zion is projected by many to be the #1 pick in June's draft. We're joined once again by Chris Broussard in New York. Chris, should Zion shut it down for the rest of the season?
Well, I have talked with a few or texted with a few NBA guys about that today. One said he should shut it down if indeed he's injured or hurt. The other said he'd love to see the competitiveness. He'd love to see him play through it just to show that competitiveness. But when I asked him if he doesn't play through it, if he shuts it down, will that hurt his stock? He said, no, not at all. He'll still be #1. Skip, first, I'd like to hear more about this injury. Hopefully we get an update today. Is it just a mild sprain or is it something more serious? Obviously, you don't want to mess around with the knee. But my feeling is that if this is even remotely serious, if this hinders him in any way, if it's a situation where, yeah, you can play, you're going to have some pain, but don't worry about it. You can't make it any worse. You got to ice more than usual after a game. Or, if it's hindering him in any way, he can't jump as high or is not quite as explosive, I would shut it down. Now, if it's nothing big, if he's fine, if he can move the same way, jump the same way, all of that, I won't have a problem with him playing, but I would lean more toward shutting it down. And I also, Skip, no matter what the Duke doctors say, I would get a second opinion. I'm sure he probably will, but definitely go get an outside second opinion and make sure, you really look at this thing closely before you make your decision. But if tonight, even if we get no extra news on his knee and we still think it's a mild sprain, if he came out tonight and said, look, my family and I have talked about this. My dream has always been to get to the NBA and be a number 1 draft pick or a lottery pick or whatever. I have decided, after suffering this injury, that I'm going to sit out the rest of the season and prepare myself for the draft. I would have absolutely, positively no problem at all with that.
So, Mr. Broussard, I wouldn't just lean toward shutting it down. I would come down hard on shutting it down. That would be my advice to this young man. Because even if it's minor, even if it's just a tweak of the knee, a very mild sprain of the knee, the way this kid plays basketball, the way he cuts and jumps with such sudden all-time explosion in ways we've never seen before for a 285-pounder at about 6 feet 6 inches tall. The risk of that is so great to me that even if it's just tweaked, that you could limit your NBA career by wrecking your knee, or you could wreck your NBA career by really wrecking your knee, is not worth it at this point. And Chris, I think we agree on this because we've discussed it before, but I still can't believe that in 2019, this country allows the National Football League to restrict kids from going into their draft for 3 years out of high school, and that the NBA gets away in 2019 with limiting kids to 1 year after high school before they can enter the draft. And again, did it benefit Zion to play at Duke? Yeah, he played 26 games and he vaulted up the draft because remember, going into the year, he was not projected as the number 1 overall pick. R.J. Barrett was. Some of the services, a couple, I think Rivals and 24/7, had Zion 5th among the potential draftees. So did he do himself greatly by playing 20? Yes, he's the it kid now. He is the runaway number 1 pick. Hay is in the barn. I think that money is in the bank, not to be risked. And I agree with what they texted back to you, a couple of the NBA guys. Would I love to see? Sure, as a fan, I want to see him. If I were a personnel guy, I want to see him fire tested at Carolina on March 9th, at ACC tournament, and maybe even in the Final Four? Yes. Would it benefit this young man to get fire tested, to learn how to win at the highest level of college basketball on national stages with millions of people looking on? Yes, it would. Is it worth the risk? Given the style he plays basketball, it is not to me, because heaven forbid if he wrecked a knee or tore his Achilles tendon because he's favoring one side of the, I don't know what could happen, but whatever it is, if there's a 2% risk, it's not worth it.
No, that's a great point. You said the way he plays it. And you're right. I mean, whenever a guy has an injury, even if it's fairly minor, you tend to overcompensate. And you use some muscle a little more than you normally would, and that's how you get hurt. Let me bring up Derrick Rose, and I know he's half the size of Zion.
I brought him up earlier, but go ahead.
But the way he played, right? The way he played was so herky-jerky and explosive. And you saw, I know he's playing okay now, but, he's a shell of what he used to be.
Is.
And you're right, you'd hate to see this happen. You brought up in 2019 that the NFL, NBA are letting these things happen. Look, I know the athletes getting paid is almost a whole nother discussion. It's complex. It's hard to figure out how to do it. I think what's easy to figure out, though, is you have a handful of superstars in collegiate football and basketball. At the very least, let them capitalize on their likeness. These jerseys and things that are selling because of Zion, he should get some of that. Maybe you don't even have to pay the sixth man on the team or even the third man on the team. Mm-hmm. But the guys who are superstars, he brought President Barack Obama to the game. He brought Floyd Mayweather, Spike Lee. And Skip, we talk about and treat college sports, football and basketball, like we do the pros for the most part. What's the difference? The same money is being generated. The same TV contracts are being given to college basketball. Why does Mike Krzyzewski have a Nike deal? He's not wearing the Nikes. The players are. So let them benefit from those types of things in their likeness. Make it a free market system. When you and I were in college as non-athletes, we could have worked for a newspaper or a broadcasting company.
I did.
And been fine and still been students.
Yep.
So you're right. It's just a lot of hypocrisy. And maybe I think we're heading toward a different system. You know, you got the NBA with the G League and offering the players money next year when they come out of high school. So I think we're headed that way. Maybe this will push us a little closer there.
And the irony of last night to me was Zion lasted all of, 37 seconds?
33, I think.
And he did something that most people had never seen before. I've seen shoes come apart. I've never seen somebody blow completely through their shoe, through their sneaker. And it was so shocking and stunning that I believe Zion actually increased and enhanced his mystique nationally with that moment where you could rest on that going toward the draft. I think it will increase his chances of breaking the rookie record for a shoe deal. I think he might be the first rookie to get a signature shoe just coming right out of college, which usually doesn't happen. You usually have to earn your spurs, so to speak, for a while. So actually, that last night benefited him if, in fact, he's not hurt. And I don't want to see him risk getting more hurt.
Well, you know what's interesting? We know LeBron has been at a game, of Dukes and watched Zion.
Yeah.
And, Michael Jordan has athletes wearing Jordan brand sneakers. And it was either late in his career or actually he was still playing when he came back and played with the Wizards. He was in the league and guys were wearing Jordan brand sneakers, their own signature type of Jordan. And I could see, look, LeBron's shoes, they're a little heavier, a little sturdier than your typical sneaker because he's so big and explosive. I think next time you see Zion, he may be wearing LeBron's because he just needs a sturdy sneaker. And I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron, maybe they start, getting players to wear his shoes. That should be what LeBron's thinking. Let me get Zion signed up as a team LeBron type guy with the sneakers.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's not going to wear the PG 2.5s anymore.
Yeah, I don't
as
think
in
so.
Paul George. That was not a good look for Paul George's signature shoe last night.
No.
Probably
No.
not. I think that's the last.
And it'll hurt him in his MVP race. I'm dropping him since.
I figured you
It's
would.
not helping either way.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, thank you for joining us. Should the rest of the West be scared of LeBron and the Lakers? Michael Rappaport joins us to discuss everything there next.
No mercy.
LeBron has been to the playoffs 13 straight years, but that streak is in jeopardy. The Lakers are currently 3 games out of the 8th spot with only 25 games left. LeBron is known for switching gears for the postseason, but yesterday he said he's already in playoff mode. Let's hear it.
For me personally, I haven't been in this position in a while, and because of my injury, it's kind of, hit our team, and I didn't. Obviously, we would love to have the success where I was out, but we didn't, and this is where we is right now. So, I'm going to be a little bit different, a little bit earlier than I would like to be. It's been quite a while for me that I've been under 500 going into the All-Star break. I don't remember the last time. So, my level of intensity has to be, unfortunately for me, because I don't like to do it at such an early time, I'm a little bit different. But it's been activated, so look forward to seeing what we can do.
Been activated. All right, we are joined by our friend Michael Rappaport, host of the I Am Rappaport Stereo podcast. He is back.
He also won an Academy Award. You didn't know that.
No.
But you won it for her.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Sorvino, Mighty Aphrodite. I'm sharing the table with an Oscar winner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Am I right?
Yes.
You
yes.
did.
Yes.
Thank you.
I got an assist.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Big assist.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Way to go.
Very impressive on that side of things. But when it comes to LeBron, Michael, what do you make of those comments?
Well, listen. Historically, we've seen him turn it up in the playoffs, and last year being the biggest turn up in the playoffs of all time. He's never had to turn it up this early, as he said. He doesn't like that. He's activated. He likes being uncomfortable. He's different and all this. He's going to get punched in the mouth tonight by the Houston Rockets, okay? And then we're going to talk about who's next on the hit list. The thing that I didn't like about this little presser here that we didn't show, if I could get to the postseason, whatever team I got, I feel like we have a good chance. I listen. This guy, there's no I in team. Okay, there's an I in Skip. Okay, but there's no I in team. They're gonna get punched in the mouth tonight by the Houston Rockets, and it's gonna be a setback. And he's expecting to do what he did last year, which was incredible. And I just don't see it happening. And once they take that first loss, and it's going to be tonight, who's to blame? Is it Luke? Is it the entire team again? Is it Lonzo? Is it yourself? Do you have to activate the activation? Do you go to Miami and take a rest like you did when you first went back to Cleveland?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen.
Do you blame it on the groin? Maybe.
Listen, he didn't say anything about the groin there. But the shadow of doubt was put out there somehow the other day. They're in trouble. This Los Angeles Lakers team is in trouble. This has been a plan that's gone awry. And it's gone awry for various different reasons. So I'm not buying it. But we've seen him turn up. I just don't think. And if he turns it all the way up now, what does he have left in the tank if they do get to the playoffs?
So you are guaranteeing a Laker loss at home tonight?
I think James Harden's going to go for 60.
Woof.
Really? In his home city. Oh, he's going to go for like a cool 60.
Okay.
So that's a good, not 61, not 59, like a cool 60. Yeah. No one can guard him out there.
So LeBron said he's activated. The last time I used activators when I had a Jerry curl.
I wish you need to bring it back. You got a nice full head of hair.
Right? I
bring it back.
That.
How long ago was that, Rob?
I did a long time ago. Right. I used to have to have the plastic bags on your head and all that. But anyway, so when he talks about this, here's my only problem with it. I just think it's BS. And I'm just going to call it BS. You know why?
There's no I in BS.
He's been back for 6 games and has played 5 of them because he had that load management game where he took off.
That's a good point, actually.
Okay?
Yeah, it's not like tonight's
It's not like his first game back, and they're 2 and 3 in those games. And when he says he's going to turn it up.
And just real quick point, if Rondo doesn't make a miraculous shot, they're 1 and 4.
Right, 1 and 4 in those games.
Yep.
And here's the other one. He's going to turn it up, he said. Against Atlanta, he played 43 minutes, 28 points, 16 assists, and 11 rebounds, right? Is that what it was? So I'm just asking you, Skip, turn it up more than this? He's going to play. They lost this game to the Atlanta Hawks. All right, who are 20 games under 500. So I'm telling you, it's not just about LeBron James. The reason why I don't believe they're going to make the playoffs is because it's the other people, the other players that are on the team. LeBron played well, and they lost. LeBron played in that game in Indianapolis when they got blown off the court by the Pacers. LeBron played in that game. When they got embarrassed in Philadelphia, LeBron played. What is he talking about like he hasn't played or he's been bad or he's been limited? He has played and has produced, and they haven't won. So that's why I'm not buying into this whole idea that he might have gotten that to work in years gone by playing in the Eastern Conference. You're in the Western Conference now.
Another good point by Rob Parker. Way to go.
You're hot. I'm hot.
Go.
Come on.
And these young guys, they don't care. These Sacramento King guys, he's LeBron. He's iconic. But they're like, yo, forget this guy. This is my time. You're an old guy. You're getting injured. I'm young. I'm fresh. I don't need to rest.
This happened to Tiger Woods.
It happens to everybody.
It does.
Everybody said, you're not Tiger anymore. We're not afraid.
And they smell King's blood in the water right now.
There's no doubt about it. The Lakers don't scare you from that standpoint. And that's just the point, is that you can look around. There's the other guys who I don't believe in. Those are the guys who lost to the Knicks at home, who lost to Cleveland at home. You start looking at those games and say, wait a minute, what kind of squad do you have? And that's why that groin story came up, because if this thing turns sour and you say they get embarrassed by Houston tonight at home, and then you look at it and go, 24 games to play and 14 more against teams over 500. This is going to be a tough act. And then LeBron will be able to go, well, what did you expect? You know, I wasn't fully healthy and I had to play.
Then it'll be a lot more we. It won't be so much I. Then it'll be we and you. LeBron Blames is in. You know who's been activated? LeBron Blames.
Correct. The Drama King was at it again, full scale yesterday. And if I were the Drama King's teammate, I would either be shaking my head or just be flat out offended at least 4 things he said in this presser yesterday. And let's start with activating. And he's saying, unfortunately, I have to activate earlier than usual. So what was he doing the first 34 games when he did play at a pretty high level? And I thought the team around him played at a pretty high level, and it got them to 20-14. It wasn't like they were 32 and 2 in the first 34 games. There were a whole bunch of games, and we don't have time to go chapter and verse on all of them, but even the opener at Portland, and then they came home and played Houston at home in that brawl game. Remember the Brandon Ingram fight game? Yep. And then San Antonio came here, and it went to overtime, and then at San Antonio, and I could just keep going on. Sure. Every one of those games were on a silver platter for the King to close, and he failed to close all of those games. So they were just 20-14 when they did manage to beat Golden State on Christmas Day, and that was the end of LeBron for a while.
And let me just say this, Skip. When people talk about they were number 4, they were the 4th seed, they also go back and look at the standings. They were 2 games from 9th. So it wasn't as if they had built up this big lead. Everybody saying, oh, they were 4th seed. They were 2 games from 9th.
And the Clippers were number 2 seed at that point.
Thank you.
So every day on this show, I have to sit across from a man who usually sits in your seat who calls LeBron James. He has the audacity to call LeBron the GOAT. He even wears a GOAT mask on occasion.
I saw him wear it. I saw him wear it.
A GOAT mask. Really? So the true GOAT, the genuine GOAT, played in Chicago, and I covered him when he played in Chicago. And trust me, he played Game 1 like he played Game 6 of the NBA Finals. It's just what he was. You're talking about Zion's just a basketball player and he just wants to play. Michael Jordan was just a killer is what he was, and he didn't care what. If it was a preseason game, he's just going to go out and go flat out, all out. That's just how he was built. So I don't want to hear LeBron, especially if I'm his teammate, saying, I pace myself through the years. Michael 10 times played 82, all the full game.
His last season he played 82 games.
Right. LeBron, for the first time last year, played all 82. So don't tell me coast. Don't tell me pace. I don't want to hear that if you're a teammate. And then to the point you brought up, he says, if I get this team, if I manage to get this team to the playoffs, then it won't matter what kind of team I have. Look, he's got enough issues with the team that already knows that he informed his agent, Rich Paul, well, let's just trade all of them. Let's offer up all the kids for Anthony Davis. You're going to have a hard time winning back over that locker room without making a statement like that, which is just dismissing them as garbage to me. Like, if I get this group to the playoffs, then we got the King, so we got a chance in the playoffs. How would you feel if you were one of those kids trying to play alongside him?
I think they've already come to an opinion.
I know what I'd think. I'd be like, can't say what I would say, but
I think they see it all. They're on social media. They see him sitting at the end of the bench. And I think they're like, they're in a bad situation. The Lakers are in a bad situation, and I got James Harden going for 60.
Right.
Clean 60.
My final thing that I loved and hated about what LeBron said yesterday was he says that he loves, in fact, he falls in love with being uncomfortable.
Yep.
What? So you left Cleveland because you were so uncomfortable with what you didn't have in Cleveland that you joined forces with Dwayne Wade, your big brother, who taught you how to win, along with Chris Bosh, under Pat Riley in Miami. You took your talents to South Beach because you needed a new comfort zone, right? That was your comfort zone. And then when you saw Dwayne when he got blown off the court by a record margin in the finals by the San Antonio Spurs.
I don't need this.
He said, I can't do this with him, so I got to go join forces with Kyrie. He's blooming up in Cleveland. He's ready to help carry me to a championship, which he finally did, down 3-1 against Golden State, right? And didn't he look for a better comfort zone there? Didn't he leave Cleveland last year because he got too uncomfortable with Kevin Love as his co-star, right?
And when he brought in all those guys, he brought Dwayne Wade in, went back in Cleveland.
Yep. We forget
Derrick Rose, all those guys, and then he goes, oh no, I can't win with these guys. They're too old, right? They're too broken down. So you're right. It's always about stacking the deck for LeBron. This whole notion that he excels in being uncomfortable is just not true, because that's not what he's about. It's about I need to stack the deck and make it as easy as possible for me.
He can try to convince himself, though. He likes being uncomfortable.
And listen, he proved last year if he could go, and I don't think he could go into that mode that he went into in the playoffs. Who knows what could happen? They're getting bumped if they even make the playoffs. And did I show you what's going to happen if they make the playoffs? How I'm going to react? If they don't make the playoffs.
You did preview that yesterday.
Did I show you that?
For showing us again. Yeah,
we like that a lot.
You know who misses? LeBron misses Shannon around here because you guys are tough on that guy. You guys have been
we're
tough on
actually
him.
objective.
Right.
Yeah.
Different thing around here. Coming up next, all right, should Zion Williamson shut it down for the rest of the year? We're going to discuss the latest next.
No mercy.
Zion Williamson was injured last night in the first minute of Duke's loss to North Carolina. It's being called a mild knee sprain, and his foot actually went through his sneaker. It was crazy to see. He will be reevaluated today, and Zion is projected by many to be the #1 pick in June's draft. We're joined by FS1 college basketball analyst Jim Jackson. Good to have you with us this morning.
Morning.
What was your reaction to Zion's injury watching it?
Well, we were in studio here,
Okay.
so we were covering a lot of games, and when it happened, I mean, the first thing that thought in my mind, I was like, okay, his knee. But then how he fell, I thought hyperextension. And, at that time, you don't want to over-evaluate, and you're just hoping that it was a mild sprain, he can get through it, which they're still trying to evaluate. But what flashed through my mind was, man, that could be serious and how it impacts him moving forward. Mm-hmm. And I think it always goes back to the question of why guys got an opportunity to leave early and do things, before they get hurt. But I'm just happy that it wasn't as severe as it may look. Still have to be evaluated, but that was my initial thought.
And by the way, have you seen that happen to a sneaker before? Have you seen
I haven't seen a
blowout?
blowout, but I've seen where it's ripped in the seams a little bit just because of the pressure. Now, these shoes are a lot softer, too. I mean, when I played the shoes, the leather was a little bit harder, so the stability was there. But now these shoes are like house shoes,
Interesting.
with just some foam in it. So I'm not surprised that something like that with his size happened.
I was going to say, his size does play into it. As big as he is, and for him to just make a little bit of a cut, and for his foot to go through the sneaker.
Fully out, yeah.
I had never seen it. I've been covering sports for over 30 years. I just was shocked by it. And I was like you, hopefully this isn't something that's serious and he didn't seriously hurt himself.
I have never seen 285 pounds move with that explosive quickness before. And he tried to do sort of a reverse pivot off the dribble, and the foot goes completely through the shoe, which I'd never seen. I've seen shoes kind of blow apart, but not completely through the shoe. And again, we've gone back and forth the whole show. I would shut it down right now, even if it's just tweaked, even if it's just a mild sprain, because of the style with which he plays basketball. It's too risky from here on out as the stakes rise. After you have to, March 9th, go to Carolina, ACC tournament, NCAA's Final Four. To me, it would be too much of a threat on that knee or overcompensating and maybe hurt the other knee, because he's going way up and coming way down with 285-pound shock, and I'm not going to risk that.
But, Jim, I'm saying if he's not hurt, he's 18 years old. He has a chance to win a national championship with Duke, to go through, be on that big stage. I'm saying he's a kid. Most kids, when you go to play basketball. You wouldn't have gone there if you're afraid. It's not like football where you're playing in some meaningless bowl game where your knee can get destroyed in a game that doesn't matter. You're playing for Duke. You have a chance to win a national championship. If he's healthy, I would like to see him play. I just don't, to shut him down, just to shut him down. If he's not hurt, I don't buy into it.
Well, I'm going to push back. And the reason why, because we're older. So that was our thought process. I remember I got hurt in the Pan Am Games in '91. It wasn't even a thought about, okay, I got to get healthy so I can try to get a national championship.
Where were you at that
I was at
point?
Ohio State.
I
was going into my junior year. Okay.
And you never thought about not playing,
No,
right?
because back then you didn't think about that.
And did you leave after?
I left after my junior year. I was in the draft with Shaq and Christian Laettner, Lonzo Mourning. So I never thought about that. You never thought about if an injury happened. I don't care if you were a freshman, whatever. You thought about getting healthy, trying to get back to help your team and win a national championship. Times have changed. And I do like your point when you said this earlier today. His Zion stock rose because he wasn't projected as the #1 overall pick coming in. He was not,
No.
just like you said. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Nick Bosa shut it down, okay?
did.
Because of what could happen in the future.
Well,
Now,
football's different.
Hold on, but the mindset is the same. He could have came back healthy. Yes, he could have got hurt. The way he plays, the amount of pressure that he puts on his knee, he can get hurt again, okay? Doing the same thing. Another example, Kyrie Irving. Kyrie played 9 games, I think it was, maybe, or a little bit less his freshman year.
Yeah, he did.
Okay? And then he came back in the tournament. The reason why? He needed people to see him that he was healthy in order to get drafted high.
Okay.
He does it.
Well, wait a minute. So here's the other argument is, if this is how he plays and there's a chance he's a big guy and he's making these moves and blowing through sneakers, I might need to see more. I'm glad what I saw when you want to make him the number 1 pick. But as we move forward, is this going to be a problem? Is this going to be an issue as big as he is? So I just want to see more before I just turn over the franchise to a guy.
If you get the number 1 pick, you're teling me
I'm
that
not
if
saying
okay. So what I'm saying is, if you can say all that you want, but if you get the number 1 pick, you're picking him for a number of different reasons. One, from a marketing perspective, it's already there. Ticket sales, on the road, at home, gone. Okay? Sponsorships, endorsements, all this stuff that brings the excitement to a franchise, nobody else in this draft has. Okay? So R.J. Barrett may be a little bit more talented today, Cam Reddish. But the impact on this, on what he has on the franchise, nobody else has.
I get that, but there is that, okay, when you see a crack in the armor, right, a little bit, that he could be a problem. I don't know, if he doesn't play for 3 months, does he balloon to 310 pounds? I'm just asking.
Can I give you another example?
Is he not going to have to practice in a gym or do some? He might not play in the game.
Let me give you another example. Kenyon Martin tore his knee up, still went number 1.
No, I know.
Still went number 1 because they saw enough on him.
Sam
and they
Bowie went ahead of Michael Jordan, and what did he have? 2 or 3
But wait,
broken
when
legs.
Kenyon in his last, didn't he go for his 4th year or like?
Yeah, but he still went number 1 after having an ACL injury because they saw enough inventory and they were willing to take a chance on what they saw. And I know he's built differently. There is a concern. It is a concern, but I guarantee you, on draft day, whoever has that number 1 pick, whether he comes back or not,
that's done.
Zion Williams will be the number 1 pick.
Disputing that a GM would have to know for sure not to take him.
Okay, here's the flip side. I have been mildly disappointed in R.J. Barrett this year, and I get you about what talent he has, but there have been too many games where I wanted him to take over late, like against Gonzaga, and he shot the ball 5 times in the that was in the Valley tournament, and missed all 5 shots. Then last night, 37 seconds in, Zion's gone. And I'm thinking, okay, this is at Duke, this is Cameron, this is RJ's moment, or Cam Reddish, or both of them, just to say, our house, 100%. Sorry, we got this. And the box score looks pretty good because RJ scored 33 and Cam 27. I can't remember a single basket either one of them scored because they all felt garbage time to me because they were never really in the game. And so when it was time for him to rise and shine and to make his case that he should be the number 1 pick, I couldn't see him last night. That's just me. I'm just eye testing it. And there have been too many times this year where I couldn't really see what he was, even though he's got that dog in him because he will shoot it. He's not afraid of the moments and the shots. He just hasn't been closing the way I wanted to see him close as the number 1 overall pick.
I think the challenge is when you have a guy like R.J. Barrett, and I'm looking at it from a GM perspective, there's a lot of guys that do what he does.
He's 6'7".
I mean, in the league.
Right.
So what separates him from somebody else? I think Cam may be a little bit more talented, but the issue there is people say the motor is just not there. Now, keep in mind, North Carolina, when you shoot 74% in the paint and just dominating, the game is skewed. So no matter how many points RJ got, it still wouldn't look impactful because they were down 15, 20 points. You know what I mean? So I get your point in regards to he didn't have an impact immediately when it happened, but a lot had to do with North Carolina just balling out.
Now, here's the other part. Okay, so R.J. Barrett, right, goes to the tournament, has an unbelievable run, and I'm just going to...
Well, is he?
Where you going?
I don't...
Where you going, Rob?
I'm just asking. Just like you remember
I can already answer. It's a no.
Okay, all right. I'm just saying. On that stage where everybody's watching, and if he's knocking down big game-winning shots, leads Duke to the championship, do you go, this guy has the moxie, he has what it takes to win on that level. He becomes, he becomes a winner.
I don't know.
Listen, I talked to a good friend of mine who's executive in the league, and he was talking about Morant, okay? And he actually likes him as the number 1 pick. Better. I said, well, he said, well, what if Phoenix gets it? They need a point guard.
All right.
I said, I get it, but are you going to be that GM?
I understand.
I said, it's a difference. If you're the GM that takes Zion and it doesn't work, you'd be like, okay, that's a no-brainer. If you're the GM that takes Morant and it doesn't work, it's just like, are you a fool? Okay? It's two different.
Yep.
It's 2 different scenarios there by making that choice.
No, I get it. I'm not saying he shouldn't be the number 1 pick, but I'm giving the scenarios. If he doesn't play anymore, could something else happen? I got it. And he's going to have to play. But he's going to have to practice, too, and other stuff. It's not like he can't play at all, right?
Well, it depends on if his agents, whoever he goes with, wants to do individual workouts once that time comes before the draft, okay, and the combine.
Should you not be concerned at all that this guy just blew through his sneaker and plays at that height, that weight?
I'm not concerned. When we get back to full diagnosis of what it is, if it's a sprain, stuff happens. It's like spraining an ankle, okay? That happened. I don't care if you're 150 pounds or if you're 285. That's going to happen.
He's going to have better shoes moving forward. I don't
think
think
so?
that's going to happen again. You're going to have to do something there. That was interesting, Jim. Thank you for joining us today. Will Lonzo Ball ever be back on the court for the Lakers? Another injury discussion. We'll tell you next.
No mercy.
Multiple reports say there is no timetable for Lonzo Ball's return. He's been out over a month with a sprained ankle, and the original timetable was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks. Lonzo has missed 10 games so far, and the Lakers are 3-7 without him in the lineup. Michael Rappaport back with us. But first, Skip, what's going on?
This does not smell right to me. You never know when it comes to injuries because I don't know. But I do know enough about Lonzo and his father to at least speculate, at least educated guess that something's up right now, because I was convinced Lonzo would at least be back by the end of the All-Star break, and there's nothing happening. There's no word, there's no timetable, there's no nothing. And it leads me to at least educated guess that he's rebelling, protesting, pouting, all because of Luke Walton. We had the father, LeVar, sit right in your seat, Mr. Rappaport, on the day of February 7th, which was the trade deadline day. And he just flat out said, Luke Walton must be fired for the way he has handled or mishandled my son as a Laker. And LeVar even went so far as to suggest he wants his son traded to Phoenix, the worst team in the West. I'm like, Phoenix? Because he wants Lonzo to join forces with his 2 younger brothers in Phoenix and start an NBA dynasty. And maybe LeVar wants to coach it. I don't know.
Maybe LeVar knows that would be the only team that could get his other 2 sons.
It's possible,
Right?
but he's got a plan, and he's trying to speak it into existence.
I thought Jello was out of basketball because I was going to try to give him a slot as an intern for me. Like, I need a personal assistant because I haven't seen him. I thought he was done with basketball.
No.
I need an intern.
No.
If you're out there and available to work.
Okay, well, are you going to hire him? Or
intern.
Is it paid or unpaid?
No, it's unpaid intern. He's a young guy. He's a kid.
Trying to help him out.
But I'm looking for an unpaid intern because I thought he was done with basketball.
Okay. Are you kidding or not kidding?
I'm serious. I'm looking for an unpaid. He seems like
it'd be good. It'd be a good idea for him. But his father says he's going to be really good in the NBA. That's what he says. As a what is he, like 6'6"-ish, I think, as a 2 guard. He says he's a 2 guard.
He
Whatever.
didn't even start at UCLA.
Well, he didn't even play at UCLA. Okay. So the point is that what started happening last year in January, Lonzo started missing long stretches with sort of mysterious injuries. It was like a knee issue, then it was a shoulder issue, and then the last 8 games of the year last year he did not play. And now it's starting to smack of he's not going to play maybe for the last 25 games this year. Is it possible he's just shut it down on Luke Walton? Because if your father goes on national television and draws a line in the Santa Monica Beach sand, right, and just says him or us, because that's what he did. It's a him or us. How can the kid come back and coexist with that coach? How can he come back and play for that coach?
The thing that I found the most disturbing about what he said, second to the disrespect of Magic Johnson, is that he said the Lakers and Luke Walton turned his son into a loser.
Yeah. What he said.
So he acknowledged that his son is now a loser. When your own father, your biggest fan, the biggest hype dad in professional sports, says, my son is now a loser, why would the Lakers even want him? Why would LeBron want him? He doesn't want to come back. This is one of the big problems with the NBA. These guys think this is that AAU, this is that high school, and everything is sweet. You're in the NBA. You're expandable, okay? The Lakers are moving on with or without you. So why would the Lakers be excited about a guy who's now proclaimed by his father? He said he was this, he said he was that, he said he was great, he was a transcendental player, but now he's saying he's a loser. He's not the pulse of this team. He's a broken kid, and reality is, the sad fact is that Lonzo Ball's soft, okay? At some point, you have to grow up and be your own man. This is a guy who obviously was a great father. You have to be your own man. And then another thing that happened, and it slid under the radar, is Lonzo Ball and Lance Stevenson put out a record last week, a single.
Yep.
Okay, that was bad. It was really bad during the season. So two of the backcourt players for the Lakers are putting out singles. And another question that needs to be raised, and it's very important, why didn't LeBron A&R that? This team is in disarray across the board.
And the other part is, like, this whole call for Lonzo. Oh, just wait till Lonzo gets back. That's been the call about him defensively. Skip, I get it.
Wait till Lonzo. This is not Jason Kidd.
No,
this is not Gary Payton.
But this is what people were saying. Even LeBron brought him up by name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lonzo will help us do a lot of different things. And then if in the league, if you play at least 15 minutes, Lonzo's 186. That's his defensive rating. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he's going to change the world, but I'm with you.
Now, last year he was high because a lot of the year he was in the top 10 in
right,
defense.
But I'm just
individual defensive win shares.
But this year, 186.
No, I know.
I'm just saying, this whole notion that he is the magical elixir that's going to
fake news,
right? Help them and lead them to the playoffs. And I'm just like, if LeBron doesn't play defense, I don't care what other player you bring into the mix. And whatever, they won't be able to win. And LeBron, we saw it. Skip, you saw the road trip. He wasn't playing defense. Now, if he said this being activated means he's playing defense, then I welcome it. If LeBron's going to play some defense, because the only way they're going to get there is LeBron's going to have to play better, and the other players are going to say, well, LeBron's doing it. I'm going to respect that, and I'll pull up my sleeves and try to play defense as well.
I still believe in Lonzo's NBA future, but I cannot speak for or defend what LeVar is still doing to this kid because he's making it virtually impossible for this kid to succeed. And I know all of LeVar's intentions are right. And again, I've said this many times. I actually wish I had a dad like LeVar because he really cares. He loves his sons to a fault, but at least he's there for them and he loves them. But he has spoiled them, and they are soft because of. And what gets me is LeVar's not soft. He grew up in Compton. He's South Central. He's got a toughness to him that he has not instilled enough. Now, maybe the third kid, maybe LaMelo, will have it more, but I'm not sure about that. But you're right about Lonzo. But he's still gifted. He still has that passing gift that he did not get taught by his father because you can't teach it.
Yeah, but the passing gift, what use is it? What use is it when LeBron James is the point guard?
LeBron has the ball. It doesn't really matter.
But there were stretches through the first 34 games when they played together and played off each other very well. Because the one thing about Lonzo, he's not selfish. He's not a ball hog. He's not a gunner.
He's a good player. But this Lonzo myth is he's not some great guy.
He will take and make big three-point shots. I cannot defend the free throw shooting because you can't play in this league, especially as a point guard, maybe if you're 7'2", but you can't shoot 48% from the free throw line and make it.
And can he play down the stretch in big games,
not like
trying
that.
to lead up shooting like that? If I'm another team, what do? I run to Lonzo. Yep. I mean, I'm serious. How can he be in the game?
But I've said from day one, starting last year, Luke did not buy into Lonzo, and maybe you're right about this. Maybe he shouldn't have, because Luke is old school and grew up as a son of an all-time great player, and so he kind of came up the harder way with a lot of expectations on himself. And he wanted to teach Lonzo some early lessons, but it was driving me crazy as a fan of the kid, because I'm going, not this year, I'm going back to last year. He would start him, and he would pull him 4 minutes into the game and sit him for a whole quarter. It's not fair when you've been proclaimed the face of the franchise by Magic Johnson. You are handpicked by, to me, the greatest point guard in the history of this league, Magic Johnson. And he said, that guy's banner will be raised in this.
It ain't getting raised.
All right. Well,
It ain't getting raised. He's not a Hall of Fame guy. He's not a retired. He's a good basketball player at best. But if he doesn't get that heart and that mind and be on his own accord, he's in trouble. And I don't want to see him be in trouble. He's a good kid. He's a player.
A good kid.
And I mean,
I don't think anybody thinks he's a bad kid. I'm with you. Yeah. But do you think do you think he won't play?
The rest of this year?
Yeah,
this is just an educated guess, but it's a guess. It feels like a protest.
I agree.
It feels like a shutdown.
Because if they don't make the playoffs and Lonzo doesn't play,
it's because
then you have leverage, right? Would that give you leverage?
Lonzo Ball will not be a Laker after this season. Leverage, playoffs, not playoffs. It's
and you know
finito.
What? Then we'll find out what he's made of.
Right.
If he starts over somewhere else, then that's your last hurrah. Now you got to show, okay, you got rid of Luke Walton. Now what are you going to do?
Minnesota, Orlando.
Minnesota. He was complaining that he didn't want to go to. Where did he not want to go? New Orleans because it was cold. He's not going to Minnesota.
That was LeVar.
You don't get
LeVar.
You don't get to make these decisions.
That's what I mean. It's not like we get to pick where we want to play.
No.
What world are
We're
we in?
still in the NBA. I hate to break it.
Yeah, I don't want to go play there. Okay, well then go to Yugoslavia. I don't know what to say. This is insanity.
Yeah, they did do that. And I don't think that ended the way that they wanted it to. All right. OBJ is back in the news, and he went off on social media yesterday. Are the Giants about to trade him?
Here we go.
We'll discuss next.
No mercy.
Odell Beckham Jr. was very busy on social media yesterday. First, he responded to a comment from Doug Gottlieb on First Things First after Doug said the Giants should trade Odell if they care about winning. Odell tweeted, "The only thing I care about is winning." Then, Odell sent this cryptic tweet. "One day, everything will all make sense in the end. I promise you. Stories unfolding. It's all part of the journey. Hashtag just wait." Then he posted on Instagram, "This is the only way they talk about me. Speak up," meaning people only talk behind his back. Michael Rappaport, you are a big Giants fan. Odell is always talking. There's always something he's saying and doing. Do you have a problem with those posts from him?
Odell had such a bad offseason last year this time on social media. Listen, I've been known to get into a little
You're a
mix
social
up on
media
social
guy,
media.
yes.
So I get it. They're not as deep as we tend to make them when they're analyzed. But Odell, if he wants to be that transcendent, iconic, great, once-in-a-lifetime talent, that Ferrari engine that he is, don't speak to Doug Gottlieb. I know Doug Gottlieb. I like Doug Gottlieb.
So do I.
But don't speak to Doug Gottlieb. Just chill, okay? And don't engage with him, okay? Because we need to see. We need to see some proof is in the pudding. We know how dope he is. We know that he's a Ferrari ready to get out on the open road, and hopefully a ball can catch him with his speed. But don't speak to Doug Gottlieb about you. We know the flaws. You have to. It's showing proof time now with Odell. So, but my suggestion to Odell is, Odell, stay off of social media and be the icon, be untouchable, be mysterious. And also, I want to make one more thing. Giants, we need a new quarterback, and Odell, it's time to get a new hairdo. That's just my.
What? You don't like the hairdo? That's his signature.
But I'm saying it's moving on. Time will tell. Refreshing, new starts.
Okay.
Like sort of grow up or mature or.
Well, he's got to do that. He's going into his fourth season.
Yeah.
He's used to being this star. The room moves when he's in it. I've seen him. He has that kind of star power. But like, have a great offseason. Stay healthy. I pray we don't start the season with Eli Manning. I really pray. I really pray that we don't start the season with Eli Manning, because that's going to be demoralizing to Odell off the top.
Now, see, Michael, the thing I have is, I think there's certain guys who are just wired a certain way, and he can't separate it. This is what makes him who he is. And sometimes you have to live with it. You have to accept it, that this is what makes him tick. I get it. It makes sense that everybody stay off social media and don't worry about what other people say, but some people just can't shake it. And he's one of those guys. I'm willing to put up with it because he has the third most yards per game since he came into the league. Only AB and Julio Jones have more, right? And he has 44 touchdowns in his 59 games in the NFL. I'm willing to put up with it if he's giving me that kind of production. And it's not exactly the same thing because he's very emotional and cares about a lot of stuff. But I remember covering in Detroit, Rasheed Wallace. And you remember, Skip, he'd always get in with the referees and the technicals, and people would pull him back and say, Rasheed, don't worry about that. But I'm telling you, you wanted Rasheed on your team. He was that, but that's how he was wired, Skip. He couldn't let it go. But there was not one player that didn't want Rasheed Wallace in that club locker room or on that team because he was that guy when times got tough.
Yeah, but we're not seeing that from Odell on the field all the time. Because with that playoff game when he started looking at his hands like it was his hands' fault, like his hands had something to do with him dropping the ball.
No, I get it, and I'm just saying, give him time, give him that situation.
How much time is his fourth season?
But this is who he is, and you have to embrace him all if you want that other talent. That's just who he is. I don't believe, Skip, he's going to change.
No, he's not going to change.
I'm going to read this line out of Odell's tweet one more time.
Okay.
The only thing I care about, winning. The only thing I care about. Not true. If it were true, you wouldn't have wound up in that Paris hotel room with that Instagram model with whatever it was all over the bed. Remember that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And in spite of that, the Giants gave him his big contract, right?
Yes.
Because he still said, well, I'm going to show up early to camp.
I thought that was garlic. Didn't they have pizza there?
I forget what it was.
We don't
looked
know.
like
Up for debate.
makeup, or I don't know what it was all over
Makeup.
the place. I don't know what it was. But if you really cared only about winning, you wouldn't do that. If you didn't care about self-promotion, you would go 0 dark 30 on all social media because you just wouldn't care. You would be driven only to win championships, to do whatever you could do to be the best player you could do. And again, I think Odell's heart is good, but he's just like Kyrie. They're out of the same mold. They just don't get it. They can't see it. And I hope Odell doesn't wake up 5-7 years from now and say, what was I thinking? I wasted too much of my career with tantrums and blow-ups on the sideline. And too many of those are because he's not getting the football. And that's not how you win games. You don't distract the team. You don't destroy the team by trying to destroy the kicking net on the sideline, right?
I agree. It's been frustrating. And like I said, like everybody says, the talent is there. Just like, I think he's beyond it. I don't think I think Kyrie, he was pumped into such stardom so quickly because he's a Giant and the catch and his look and his swag. And I think it's kind of jolting. Like he wasn't,
It is.
you know, but I think now you have to get used to it. Like I said, I was at an event in New York with him and there was a lot of people there. It was like Michael Jackson was in the room. When he moved, the whole room moved. All eyes were on him. I think that takes time to get used to. So get used to it. Stay off of this.
Yeah.
Do your thing. Work with Eli because he's gonna figure it out. But you know, as far as football is concerned, listen, the Giants are using him like he's Chris Hogan, like he's Julian Edelman, like he's a slot guy. We need to be able to let this Ferrari go out on the open field.
Well, maybe you don't have the gas in Eli. That's part of it.
No kidding, we don't have the gas.
Right?
And then yesterday, I don't know which one you guys floated this thing about Russell Wilson, Russell the love muscle, and then that just went away. That excited me for an hour, and then all of a sudden that's gone. So I don't know what to say. I'm concerned about what's going to happen with the Giants next year, and it's going to wind up being the detriment of Odell and our guy Saquon Barkley.
Well, but that's why I think that there's a good chance that they could trade him if they're going to
trade Odell.
No. If they're going to stick with Eli and not upgrade the quarterback position, then having him doesn't mean anything. That's what I mean. If they don't do it.
There's only one hope for Odell Beckham Jr., the Ferrari. The Ferrari belongs in the garage up in New England. He needs to get traded to Tom Brady.
You're just trying to help Tom
I'm not.
Brady. Yes, you are.
It would work wonders for Odell's career. It would turn him completely around because he would live in an environment and a culture in which winning is the only thing. And you check your ego at the door and you do your job and you don't complain about it. You just play football and you win championships.
But I think that the Ferrari would only get test-driven out there. We need to let this guy air out like Antonio Brown, Julio Jones. He's that level of talent. He hasn't been able to. Like, I want that puppy on the road, on the 101 going each weekend.
And if he plays with Tom Brady, he's only getting 5 yards.
That's it.
And dunks.
And every now and then, and Tom Brady's arm strength.
Getting rings.
Rings. Yeah, rings
Lots
sound
of
pretty
rings.
good right
Bigger
now.
rings than you're wearing right now. Giant Super Bowl rings.
Just think about all
Look
those
good.
rings.
Yeah.
Tom has.
And by the way,
Wouldn't that be nice?
we're not talking about Odell
No.
behind his back. We're talking about it right out here in public, right?
True.
Good guy.
And we all want him to reach his potential. I
Right.
think that's the
He's
one
a
thing.
great player.
Everyone's rooting for him to have success. I mean, we
Or
want
he
him to
could
find a
come
good
on the
thing.
show and talk to us. How about that?
I'm open for business.
Michael, good to have you with us
having me.
today. Is tonight a must-win for the Lakers? You guys are really starting to make me think it sure is. We'll tell you next.
No mercy.
Hey, welcome back. The Herd is coming up next right here on FS1. Let's head over, check in with Colin Cowherd. Hey, Colin, what's on the show?
Well, Zion Williamson is not going to play college basketball anymore. That is not a sad thing. It is a wonderful thing for a lot of reasons that perhaps you didn't think about. That's coming up.
All right, looking forward to it, Colin. Thanks. Time for our final topic of the day. The Lakers are back in action tonight at home against the Rockets. LA is currently 3 games out of the 8th spot with 25 games left. LeBron said yesterday that his push for the playoffs has, quote, been activated. Rob, what do you expect tonight?
I expect an L for the Lakers.
Really?
They already this year 0-3 against Houston. And Clint Capella's coming back. He's been out, so he had a bad thumb, right? Out for a month. 17 points, 12 rebounds. And Harden has destroyed the Lakers with LeBron, without LeBron, with Lonzo, without Lonzo, averaging 44.7 points a game. And in those games, Skip, the 3 games, 35, 50, and 48. So I'm expecting the Lakers to get off to the second half of the season and this final stretch in a bad way.
Well, to your point, the betting public is on your side because the Rockets have been bet from a 1-point favorite all the way up to a 3-point favorite, and that is a big swing in that point spread. So heavy money coming in on James Harden, and I don't disagree with you. James Harden will have a big night, and I believe the Lakers will win this game.
What?
They should have beaten Houston without LeBron after they won in Oklahoma City. And Kyle Kuzma came up a little small and shocked me in overtime of that game and made an error down the stretch with the ball going through his hands for a turnover. And I just think they play well. They should have beaten Houston in game 2 of the year in L.A. So I think they got this. I think LeBron will activate. I think he'll take it up another level.
Will the rest of the team activate, and will they play defense?
I think they will all activate, and I think they'll be fresh coming off the break. And just because there's so many distractions, they will unify.
If they lose this game, Skip, would this change your mind? If they lose this game?
No, we've got a bet that I'm going to win.
We've
right?
got a bet
Lakers
there
will
already.
make the 8 seed.
That is it for us. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. Right now, Colin tells you why Zion Williamson's next game will be in the NBA. The Herd starts right now.
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Join us again at the same time tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports. One of one.